Lucas Bennett adjusted the cuffs of his tailored shirt as he scanned the bustling atmosphere of the upscale coffee house. Today was meant to be a milestone, a celebration of the deal he was about to close with his longtime business partner, Jake Turner. Together, they had built a company from the ground up, and this agreement would cement their dominance in the industry, promising a future of wealth and influence. The cafe hummed softly with quiet conversations, the clinking of porcelain cups, and the enticing aroma of freshly ground coffee beans. Everything looked picture-perfect on the surface, but beneath it lay a tension few noticed. "I'm going to step out for a moment," Lucas said, rising from their sleek oak table. Jake, absorbed in his phone, barely glanced up but nodded. Years of hard work had led Lucas here. He and Jake had been inseparable partners, sharing dreams and hardships alike. This deal was the climax of their shared journey, a moment they had both eagerly awaited. While Lucas moved toward the restroom, the air at their table subtly shifted. Emily, a young waitress who had quietly served here for months, approached to refill Jake's glass. Typically, she stayed invisible, blending into the background of affluent clientele. But today, something stopped her in her tracks. As she drew near, she caught a fragment of a hushed phone call from Jake. His words sliced through the usual cafe chatter. "Everything's ready. Lucas has no clue. Once this deal is signed, I'll control it all. He won't see it coming. I've been planning this for months. The company, the assets, they'll all be mine." Emily's hand trembled slightly, nearly spilling the water she carried. Her heart hammered fiercely in her chest. The man Jake was plotting against was the very man who had trusted him as a brother, a partner. She stepped away quickly, retreating to the kitchen to steady her racing thoughts. She was just a waitress. None of this was her fight. Yet something stirred deep inside, a tug she couldn't ignore. Could she simply walk away, knowing this betrayal was unfolding right before her eyes? When Lucas returned, unaware of the secret conversation, Jake flashed his usual friendly smile, hiding the venom beneath. Emily lingered nearby, mind spinning. This was different. This time, she couldn't stay silent. As Jake excused himself to take a call outside, Emily seized the moment. Heart pounding, she approached Lucas. "Excuse me, sir," she whispered, her voice barely audible. Lucas looked up, surprised. "Yes." Emily swallowed her fear. "I overheard something you should know." Lucas frowned, puzzled. "What do you mean?" "It's your partner, Jake. I think he's planning to betray you. I heard him say he's going to take everything once the deal is done." Lucas blinked, stunned. His mind rebelled against the idea. Jake was his closest friend, his business ally. Why would she even suggest such a thing? "I'm sorry, what?" Lucas stammered, struggling to process. "I know it sounds unbelievable, but I swear it's true." Emily pressed, her voice urgent. "He said he's planning to take over and leave you with nothing." Shock gave way to doubt. Could Jake really be capable of this? Lucas's eyes flicked toward the door, where Jake was still on the phone. His trust wavered. "Are you sure about this?" Lucas asked, voice steady but tense. Emily nodded solemnly. "I wouldn't say anything if I wasn't." Lucas leaned back, his mind a whirlwind. He and Jake had built everything side by side, grown up as friends and business partners. The notion of betrayal was almost impossible to accept, yet Emily's sincerity planted a seed of suspicion. "Thank you," Lucas finally said quietly. "I appreciate you telling me." Without another word, Emily stepped back into the kitchen, leaving Lucas alone with the weight of her warning. The celebration that had seemed certain now felt fragile, like a house of cards on the verge of collapse. Lucas stared down at the contract before him, torn. If Emily was right, signing those papers could cost him everything. Jake re-entered the cafe, wearing a smile, as if nothing had changed. Lucas sat silently, his thoughts swirling with doubt and suspicion. He watched Jake walk toward him, oblivious to the turmoil unfolding inside his partner. "All set?" Jake asked casually, sliding back into his seat. Lucas forced a smile. "Just thinking it over. You know how it is with deals this big." Jake nodded, sipping his water. "Yeah, it's a big moment. We've worked for years to get here." Lucas nodded, eyes fixed on the contract. They had built their empire together. But now, Everything felt uncertain. Could Jake really be plotting behind his back? The warning from a waitress, a stranger, had thrown Lucas's world into chaos. He wanted to believe it was a mistake, a misunderstanding. But something in Emily's voice made him pause. "I think I need a little more time," Lucas said slowly. "Just to double-check everything." Jake's smile flickered briefly. "More time? We've been over this." Lucas held his ground. "Better safe than sorry, right?" Jake leaned back, a faint flicker of irritation crossing his face before the smile returned. "Whatever you need, but don't drag it out too long. Opportunities like this don't come often." Lucas nodded, decision firm. He wasn't signing anything until he was sure. As he left the cafe, his thoughts swirled with suspicion, disbelief, and a growing determination. He couldn't afford to trust blindly anymore, not even his closest ally. Outside, Emily waited anxiously, watching Lucas step into the cool evening air. "Did you talk to him?" she asked softly. Lucas hesitated. "Not yet, but I didn't sign." Relief softened Emily's features. "I was so worried you wouldn't believe me." Lucas studied her for a moment. "Why tell me?" Emily looked down, then met his eyes. "I know it's not my place. I'm just a waitress." But when I heard what he said, I couldn't stay quiet. It didn't feel right. Her honesty struck Lucas deeply. She had nothing to gain, yet risked everything to warn him. "Thank you," he said quietly. "You might have saved me from making a huge mistake." Emily smiled faintly. "I'm just glad I could help." Lucas walked away, the weight of her words pressing down on him. He knew this was only the beginning. The moment Lucas Bennett left the cafe that evening, the weight of Emily's revelation settled heavily on his chest. The comforting buzz of the city outside, usually a source of inspiration, now felt oppressive, as if the shadows themselves whispered warnings he could no longer ignore. Back at his sleek downtown office, Lucas sat alone in the dim light of his corner suite, the city skyline glittering through the floor-to-ceiling windows. But the view offered no solace. His gaze fixated on the unopened contract sprawled across his polished desk, its significance now twisted by the unsettling thought. What if Jake Turner, his partner and closest friend, was plotting to steal everything they had built together? The years they'd spent side by side, the late nights, the sacrifices, the shared victories, felt suddenly fragile, like fragile glass about to shatter. Lucas felt a cocktail of disbelief and dread swirling inside him. Could Jake really be capable of such betrayal? The thought gnawed at him relentlessly. Determined to get to the bottom of the suspicion, Lucas reached for his phone. After a moment's hesitation, he dialed a number he hadn't used in some time. Mark Simmons, a trusted private investigator known for discretion and thoroughness. "Mark? It's Lucas Bennett," he said, voice tight but controlled. "I've got a delicate situation, and I need your help. I can't share everything over the phone, but I need someone to look into Jake Turner, his financials, his recent activities. I have a gut feeling something's wrong." Mark's voice was calm, professional. "I'll start digging immediately. Give me a few days, and I'll get back to you with what I find. Stay patient." Lucas hung up, a faint flicker of relief breaking through the storm of anxiety inside him. He wasn't alone now, but waiting was torture. Every day stretched on endlessly, every phone buzz or email ping setting his nerves on edge. And then there was Jake, the very man he suspected, who continued to wear the same easy smile and speak with practiced confidence. Each meeting felt like walking on a tightrope. Lucas forced himself to act normal, but inside, every word, every glance from Jake was loaded with silent questions. Was this the charming facade hiding a knife aimed at his back? Mark's investigation soon bore troubling fruit. Over the next few days, discreet reports started filtering in. Jake had been quietly shifting funds from their company accounts into offshore accounts, small amounts, carefully calibrated to avoid triggering automatic alarms. The timeline was damning. The transfers began just months before they entered negotiations on the new deal. When Mark called with his first update, Lucas was at his desk, fingers steepled, eyes shadowed. "There's definitely something fishy," Mark said, his tone low but urgent. "Jake's been moving money consistently over the past year. Not illegal by itself, but this kind of activity usually signals something bigger, covering tracks, preparing for a big move. It's too deliberate to ignore. Lucas's throat tightened. How much are we talking? Not millions yet, but enough to make you question his loyalty. I'm digging deeper. I'll keep you posted. Lucas stared out the window, the city lights blurred by the haze of his thoughts. Betrayal wasn't just a possibility anymore. It was a looming reality. Emily's warning was true. His instincts, once just a whisper, now screamed for action. Despite the chaos inside, Lucas tried to carry on with business as usual. Meetings, calls, strategic planning sessions, they all went forward. But the camaraderie between him and Jake had crumbled into a fragile performance. Jake's usual charm and confidence never wavered. He laughed at the right moments, spoke convincingly about their shared vision, and pushed forward plans as if nothing was wrong. Lucas, however, couldn't help but scrutinize every move, every phrase. Was the impatience that sometimes flashed in Jake's eyes genuine frustration, or a sign of something darker? One evening, Lucas agreed to meet Jake for dinner at their favorite downtown restaurant, the same place where countless business victories had been toasted. The dim lighting and soft jazz felt at odds with the tension between them. So, the deal. Are we still on schedule? Jake asked, cutting into his steak with that effortless ease Lucas envied. Lucas held Jake's gaze steadily. I'm reviewing a few final details. I want to make sure everything is solid before we move forward. Jake's smile faltered, eyes briefly clouded with impatience. Of course, I get it, but we can't afford to wait forever. You know how rare deals like this are. Lucas nodded slowly, masking the whirlwind inside. Exactly why I need to be thorough. They talked business through the meal, but the old ease was gone. Instead, a quiet tension filled the air like a storm gathering strength. Lucas felt his trust eroding, replaced by cold, calculating doubt. That night, Lucas lay awake in his apartment, staring at the ceiling. Memories of Jake, his old friend, his partner, flashed through his mind. Had it all been a lie? How long had Jake harbored this resentment, this secret plan? The question twisted in Lucas's gut like a knife. Emily's warning echoed in his ears. Without her, he might have signed a contract, handing over everything. He knew he couldn't confront Jake without irrefutable proof. He had to stay patient, gather evidence, and protect his legacy. Because now, more than ever, Lucas understood, betrayal wasn't just about money. It was about trust broken, friendships destroyed, and a future threatened by the very person he'd called brother. Days stretched into an anxious blur as Lucas Bennett awaited the next update from Simmons. Each morning, he checked his phone with a mix of hope and dread, praying for a breakthrough, fearing the worst. The uncertainty gnawed at him, making even the simplest decisions feel heavy. Meanwhile, Jake Turner carried on as if nothing was wrong. He was the consummate professional in public, confident, charming, persuasive, but Lucas sensed cracks beneath the surface. Subtle gestures, a flicker of irritation in Jake's eyes, or a pause too long before answering a question. Each small sign added fuel to Lucas's growing suspicion. Then, one late afternoon, the call came. "Lucas, I've got something you need to see." Mark's voice was low, urgent. There are irregularities in Jake's personal accounts. Transfers to offshore entities, some linked to shell companies. It's not just about moving money, it's about covering tracks. And I found communications between Jake and competitors, possibly negotiating behind her back. Lucas's pulse quickened. The betrayal was deeper and wider than he feared. "Can you give me all the details?" "I want everything," Lucas demanded, his tone sharp. "This changes everything." Mar promised to send the files securely. Lucas felt a cold resolve settle in him. The friend he'd trusted was now an adversary, and the stakes couldn't be higher. That evening, Lucas invited Jake to their private office, a neutral ground where they had held countless strategic discussions. The room was sleek, professional, bathed in the soft glow of desk lamps and the city lights beyond. Jake arrived promptly, greeting Lucas with his usual grin. But tonight, Lucas's smile was measured, his eyes steely. "Jake, have a seat," Lucas said, motioning toward the chairs. Jake lowered himself into the chair, sensing the shift an atmosphere. Everything all right? You seem serious. Lucas took a deep breath. This was the moment. The truth needed to come out. I know about the transfers. Lucas began steadily, locking eyes with Jake. The offshore accounts, the money siphoned from our company. Jake's face went pale for a split second. Then he forced a smirk. Lucas, you're imagining things. Maybe you're stressed. This sounds like paranoia. Lucas shook his head. I hired an investigator. We have proof, bank records, communications. You've been planning this for months. The room thickened with tension. Jake's confident facade wavered, revealing a flicker of desperation beneath. Fine, Jake said bitterly, leaning forward. You want the truth? You think I'm just some greedy traitor? I've been standing in your shadow for years, Lucas. You're the golden boy, the one everyone praises. Meanwhile, I do the dirty work, the grunt work, and get nothing but scraps. Lucas's heart sank. The resentment, the envy, it explained everything. This isn't about stealing, Jake continued, voice raw with frustration. It's about fairness. I deserve more. I've earned more. Lucas's anger flared, but he kept his voice calm. There were other ways to talk about this. You chose betrayal instead. Jake's eyes darkened. I tried to speak up. You never listened. So I took matters into my own hands. Lucas stood, fists clenched. You destroyed our friendship, our company, because you felt slighted? That's unforgivable. Jake's smirk faded. You don't understand. This was my way out. Lucas's resolve hardened. It's over, Jake. I've frozen your accounts. The evidence is with our legal team. You won't take this company from me. Jake's face twisted with rage. You think this is the end? You haven't seen anything yet. I have connections you don't know about. Lucas met his gaze unflinchingly. I'm ready for whatever you throw at me. With that, Jake stood abruptly and stormed out, leaving Lucas alone in the quiet office. The confrontation had come and gone, but the battle was far from over. As Lucas exhaled deeply, he realized one thing. Trust had been shattered, but his determination to protect everything he'd built was stronger than ever. The moment Jake Turner stormed out of the office, Lucas Bennett felt a mixture of relief and exhaustion wash over him. The confrontation he had long feared was finally behind him, but as the door clicked shut, an overwhelming stillness filled the room. He sank into his chair, rubbing his temples, the weight of what had just unfolded settling heavily on his shoulders. The betrayal was personal and profound. Jake hadn't just plotted to take over the company. He had destroyed a friendship built over decades, shattering the trust Lucas had placed in him. For a moment, Lucas let the pain wash over him. The hurt of seeing someone he once called brother become his greatest adversary. But there was no time for self-pity. His company, his legacy, and the livelihoods of countless employees depended on his next moves. With a deep breath, Lucas straightened. He needed to act decisively, strategically. The legal team was already mobilizing, freezing Jake's access to funds and company accounts. But there was more to be done. Jake was dangerous, clever, and well-connected. Lucas knew the battle wasn't only financial. It was psychological, a war for control and reputation. Later that evening, as twilight bathed the city skyline in shades of purple and gold, Lucas found a moment of quiet in his high-rise apartment. The city's pulse carried a strange comfort, a reminder that life continued beyond the walls of his private struggles. His phone vibrated, a message from Emily. Thinking of you. If you need anything, I'm here. The simplicity of her words struck a chord deep inside him. Emily, a young woman from a world far removed from his own, had shown courage and integrity beyond expectation. She had risked her position to speak the truth, to warn him when others might have looked away. Her bravery had saved him, and now, in this quiet moment, Lucas felt a surge of gratitude that went beyond words. The next morning, he made a decision that surprised even himself. He would visit Emily. Driving through the winding streets of a modest neighborhood far from the gleaming towers of downtown, Lucas felt the sharp contrast between their worlds. The houses were small, with peeling paint and weathered fences. Cars, some clearly decades old, were parked haphazardly along narrow roads. Life here was simple hard-earned, and honest. He parked outside the small, weathered house Emily shared with her mother. Taking a deep breath to steady his nerves, he walked up and knocked firmly. Emily opened the door, surprise evident on her face. "Mr. Bennett, what are you doing here?" Lucas smiled warmly, stepping inside when she gestured him in. The interior was humble but clean, filled with the comforting aroma of herbal tea and home-cooked meals. Signs of daily struggle were visible: scuffed furniture, worn floors, a small bookshelf stacked with textbooks and papers. Sitting on a faded couch, Lucas searched for the right words. "I wanted to thank you properly," he began, his voice sincere. "You saved me from making the biggest mistake of my life." Emily's cheeks flushed slightly. I just did what I thought was right. I never expected anything." Lucas shook his head. "That's what makes it so meaningful. Most people would have stayed silent. You risked your job and more." He paused, then continued. "I know you had to put your dreams on hold to care for your mother. I want to help you finish your education." Emily's eyes widened. "Really? You do that?" "Yes," Lucas said firmly. "I'd like to offer you a scholarship and the support you need to get back to school. And if you're interested, a position at my company. Someone with your instincts and integrity would be invaluable." Tears welled up in Emily's eyes, and she blinked quickly to hide them. "I don't know how to thank you. This means everything." Lucas reached out, placing a reassuring hand on her shoulder. "No thanks needed. Just promise me you'll take this opportunity and build the future you deserve." Over the following weeks, Emily's life began to change. Returning to school rekindled a dream she had shelved years ago, and stepping into the corporate world was both thrilling and daunting. Her first days at Lucas's company were filled with challenges: new faces, unfamiliar procedures, complex financial reports. But Emily's sharp mind and fresh perspective quickly earned her respect. Mentored by Sandra, a senior executive with years of experience, Emily absorbed everything like a sponge. Sandra's encouragement helped her navigate the corporate labyrinth, and Emily's instinct for numbers and strategy shone through. Meanwhile, Lucas worked tirelessly behind the scenes. The company's legal team pursued every avenue to protect their assets, freezing Jake's accounts and preparing lawsuits for fraud, breach of fiduciary duty, and defamation. Yet despite the mounting victories on paper, Lucas struggled with the emotional fallout. The wounds left by Jake's betrayal ran deep. He found himself replaying memories, the laughter, the plans, the shared dreams, and mourning the loss of what could have been. But Emily's presence was a beacon of hope. Her steady resolve, her determination to rise above hardship, reminded Lucas that even in the darkest times, new beginnings were possible. One evening, after a long day, Lucas found Emily still at the office, engrossed in a financial report. The hum of the building had quieted. Most colleagues had gone home. "You're still here?" Lucas asked with a hint of amusement as he leaned against the doorframe. Emily looked up, smiling tiredly. "Just finishing up some work for Sandra." Lucas chuckled. "You don't have to burn the midnight oil every night." Emily shrugged, her smile widening. "I don't mind. I actually enjoy it." He watched her for a moment, admiration clear in his eyes. "You're doing great work, Emily. I hope you know that." Her cheeks flushed faintly. "Thanks, Mr. Bennett. That means a lot coming from you." "Don't stay too late, though," Lucas said gently. "You need time for yourself, too." Emily nodded, feeling a warmth spread through her. This wasn't just a job anymore. It was a new chapter, a chance to rewrite her story. But as Lucas turned to leave, a shadow lingered in his mind. Jake Turner hadn't disappeared. The legal battles were only beginning, and the threat of retaliation loomed ever closer. Yet for the first time in months, Lucas felt a quiet confidence. With Emily by his side and a renewed sense of purpose, he was ready to face whatever came next. Together, they would rebuild, not just a company, but a future. The weeks that followed marked a turning point, not just for the company, but for Lucas Bennett and Emily as individuals. The shadow cast by Jake Turner's betrayal still lingered, but the light of renewal was beginning to break through. Emily settled into her new role with a quiet determination. Her mornings began earlier than most, arriving at the office while the building still hummed softly with the echoes of the night before. Every day was a whirlwind of learning. Complex financial analyses, strategic meetings, cross-department collaborations. But she absorbed it all with a hunger born from years of sacrifice and unrealized dreams. One afternoon, as she prepared for a presentation on market expansion strategies, her mentor Sandra stopped by her desk. "You've come a long way, Emily," Sandra said, a smile softening her usually stern expression. "Your insights have already saved us from some costly mistakes." Emily looked up, pride warming her chest. "Thank you, Sandra. It's been challenging, but I'm grateful for the opportunity." Sandra nodded. "You have a knack for seeing beyond the numbers. Keep pushing, and you'll do great things here." That encouragement fueled Emily's confidence. She felt her voice growing stronger in meetings, her ideas gaining traction. The fresh perspective she brought was increasingly valued, and Lucas noticed. One morning, Lucas called Emily into his office. The space, bathed in natural light from the expansive windows, felt less imposing and more welcoming than it had weeks before. "Emily," Lucas began, his tone serious but warm, "I've been reviewing your progress. You've exceeded all expectations." Emily's heart quickened, a mixture of excitement and nerves swirling inside her. "I'd like to offer you a leadership role," Lucas continued, leaning forward. "You'll oversee the strategy for our international expansion project. It's a big responsibility, but I believe you're ready." Emily blinked, stunned. "A leadership role? I don't know what to say." Lucas smiled. "You've earned it. Your work, your dedication, your perspective, it's exactly what we need to take this company to the next level." The weight of the opportunity settled on Emily, both thrilling and intimidating. But looking into Lucas's trusting eyes, she found the courage to say, "I'll do my best. I won't let you down." Lucas nodded confidently. "I know you won't. We'll work closely together. You won't be alone." As Emily stepped out of the office, her mind raced with possibilities. The future stretched before her like an open road, filled with challenges she was now ready to face. Meanwhile, the company continued to heal. Legal battles against Jake were progressing, the stolen funds largely recovered, and public opinion was slowly shifting back in their favor. But the scars remained, reminders of how fragile success could be. One evening, after a particularly long day, Lucas and Emily found themselves alone in the boardroom, overlooking the city skyline as twilight deepened. "It hasn't been easy," Lucas admitted, his voice soft. Emily nodded. "No, but I feel like we're finally moving forward." Lucas looked at her thoughtfully. "You've changed the way we do things. Your insights, your integrity. They remind me why I started this company." Emily smiled, touched by his words. "I'm just glad to be part of the team and to help rebuild." They stood in silence for a moment, united by a shared vision and newfound trust. Yet beneath the surface, challenges awaited. The international expansion brought complex regulatory hurdles, cultural nuances, and fierce competition. Emily faced skepticism from some seasoned executives, wary of a newcomer's rapid rise. But she met every challenge with determination, backed by Lucas's unwavering support. Together, they navigated the turbulent waters of growth and change. One afternoon, during a heated strategy meeting, an executive questioned Emily's approach. "Are you sure this plan is realistic for the markets we're targeting?" he challenged. Emily met his gaze steadily. "I've done extensive research and consulted local experts. This isn't just theory. It's grounded in data and real-world insights." Lucas watched from the sidelines, proud of how she held her ground. After the meeting, Lucas pulled Emily aside. "You handle that well," he said. "Your confidence is contagious." Emily felt a surge of gratitude. "Thank you, Lucas. I'm learning every day." As months passed, Emily's leadership began to bear fruit. The company secured key partnerships overseas, launched pilot programs, and steadily increased revenue streams. Lucas often reflected on how far they'd come, from betrayal and uncertainty to resilience and growth. For Emily, the journey was transformative. From a waitress who once overheard a dangerous secret, She had become a respected leader with a bright future. One evening, as she left the office late, the city lights twinkling around her, Emily paused to take it all in. The challenges ahead were daunting, but for the first time in her life, she felt truly ready. Just as Lucas Bennett and Emily began to find their footing and the company's future looked brighter than it had in months, an unexpected storm loomed on the horizon. Jake Turner, the very man who had tried to destroy everything Lucas had built, was far from defeated. Instead, he was preparing a new, more insidious assault, one that threatened not only Lucas's business empire, but also his reputation and peace of mind. It started with a mysterious envelope delivered to the front desk of the company's headquarters. The security officer who handed it overwore a grim expression. "Mr. Bennett, you might want to see this," he said, sliding a sealed package across the reception counter. Lucas frowned as he broke the seal and pulled out a small USB drive. There was no note, no return address, only his name scrawled neatly across the front. Later that evening, locked behind the door of his office, Lucas sat at his desk, the glow of his computer screen casting sharp shadows across his face. He hesitated for a moment before plugging the USB into his laptop. A single video file appeared. With a trembling hand, Lucas clicked play. The grainy footage showed Jake Turner lounging in a dimly lit hotel room, his expression smug and unrepentant as he addressed the camera directly. "Lucas," Jake sneered, voice dripping with disdain. "You might think you've won. You froze my accounts, cut me off, and tried to ruin me. But I'm far from finished." Lucas clenched his jaw, anger simmering beneath the surface. Jake continued, "I've been busy since our fallout, gathering information, making connections. You think you could take everything from me and walk away clean? Think again." The video cut off abruptly, leaving Lucas staring at the frozen frame, heart pounding. What kind of information did Jake have? Was it true, or just another manipulative ploy? The next morning, Lucas immediately called Mark Simmons. "Mark, it's Lucas," he said, voice tense. "Jake sent me a video. He's threatening to go public with something. Says he's been collecting dirt on me." Mark's tone was calm, but serious. "Send it over. We'll analyze everything, see if we can trace where it was filmed. We need to find out what he's planning. Don't engage with him," Mark advised. "He's trying to provoke you. Stay calm and calculated." Lucas spent the day working closely with his legal team and Mark's investigators. The uncertainty gnawed at him, making it hard to focus. The threat to his reputation felt personal and profound, touching not just business but the very foundation of his life. Emily noticed the strain on Lucas's face during meetings and quietly offered her support. "I'm here if you need anything," she said softly one afternoon as they reviewed company reports. Lucas smiled gratefully. "Thanks, Emily. Having you by my side means more than you know." Days passed with no public leak, but the tension was palpable. Jake's game was one of patience and psychological warfare, waiting for the perfect moment to strike. Then, one morning, Mark called with news. "We intercepted a message Jake sent to a media contact," Mark reported. "He's trying to sell a story about you. It's mostly lies, fabrications mixed with half-truths, but he's desperate to get it published before anyone can fact-check." Lucas exhaled slowly. Relief mingled with frustration. "Can we stop him?" Lucas asked. "We're already ahead of the story," Mark assured him. "We've contacted the outlets Jake's been targeting and prepared our own narrative, backed by facts, evidence of his betrayal and fraud. Once we present that, his story will collapse." "And Jake?" Lucas pressed. "Can he be stopped from trying again?" "Legally, yes," Mark replied. "We have a strong case. Between frozen accounts, recovered funds, and evidence from the investigation, he's running out of options." That evening, Lucas met with his legal team to finalize the strategy. They prepared to file a lawsuit for defamation, fraud, and breach of fiduciary duty, a decisive move to end Jake's campaign of destruction. The following morning, the media broke the story. Headlines exposed Jake Turner as the mastermind behind a corporate scandal, revealing stolen funds, attempts to sabotage the company, and a smear campaign against Lucas Bennett. Lucas watched from his office, a quiet satisfaction settling in. The truth was out, and Jake's threats were unraveling. Emily knocked softly on his door, her expression a mix of relief and concern. "I saw the news," she said quietly. "It looks like everything's coming to light." Lucas nodded, eyes still on the screen. "It's over. At least the worst of it." She stepped closer, standing by his desk. "You've been through so much these past months. I'm just glad you came out on top." Lucas looked up, gratitude shining in his eyes. "I couldn't have done it without you. You've been my rock through all this." Emily smiled softly. "I'm just glad I could help." For a moment, they stood together in silence, the weight of the past slowly lifting. Ryan's threats had been neutralized, but the journey ahead would still require strength and unity. Looking at Emily, Lucas realized that the future wasn't just about business anymore. She had become someone he trusted implicitly, a partner in every sense. "Thanks for everything," he said quietly. Emily nodded, eyes warm. "We'll face whatever comes next together." The grand ballroom was a transformation, a stark contrast to the sterile conference rooms and quiet offices where Lucas Bennett and his team had spent countless hours fighting to save their company. Crystal chandeliers hung from the ceiling, casting a warm glow over rows of elegantly dressed employees and executives. The air was thick with anticipation and celebration. This was not just a company party. It was a statement of survival, resilience, and hope. Lucas stood at the podium, his figure commanding yet approachable. He took a moment to look around the sea of faces, some new, some weathered by the recent trials, and felt the immense weight of what had been overcome. The months of turmoil, betrayal, and uncertainty had left scars, but tonight was about healing and moving forward. "We have endured challenges that tested not only our business acumen, but our character," Lucas began, his voice steady and resonant. "But thanks to the unwavering dedication of each member of this team and the courage of those who dare to stand up for what's right, we are stronger today than we were before." A ripple of applause spread through the crowd. Lucas's eyes searched the room until they settled on a figure waiting quietly at the side, Emily Adams. "It is my honor to recognize someone whose integrity, intelligence, and bravery played a pivotal role in saving our company," Lucas said, gesturing toward Emily. "Emily Adams." Emily's heart pounded as she stepped forward. The spotlight warmed her cheeks, and for a moment, she felt the familiar flutter of nerves. Yet beneath that, a burgeoning confidence steadied her steps. The applause grew louder, a wave of support and gratitude that washed over her. Taking the microphone, Emily's voice found its strength. "Thank you, Lucas. And thank you all. When I first came here, I was just hoping to find a place to contribute, to learn. I never imagined standing here, being part of something so much bigger than myself." Her words hung in the air, sincere and humble. The room responded with another burst of applause, this time mingled with smiles of respect. As the celebration unfolded, Lucas and Emily moved among the crowd, sharing congratulations, laughter, and the occasional tear. The company's culture, once fraught with suspicion, was shifting toward one of openness and mutual respect. Yet beneath the joyous exterior, challenges simmered. The international expansion Emily was now tasked with leading was a monumental undertaking. New markets meant new laws, unfamiliar customs, and relentless competition. The path was steep, and every decision carried weight. One afternoon, during a tense strategy meeting, voices rose. "Emily, I appreciate your enthusiasm," said a senior executive, his tone edged with skepticism. "But are you confident this approach will work in Southeast Asia? The market dynamics there are vastly different from what we've experienced." Emily met his gaze steadily, unwavering. "I've spent weeks consulting with local experts, analyzing market data, and tailoring our strategy to each region's unique economic and cultural landscape. This isn't a one-size-fits-all plan. It's a carefully crafted blueprint designed to meet specific challenges." Lucas watched from the back, admiration clear on his face. He saw the same determination and clarity he remembered from when Emily first warned him of Jake's betrayal. After the meeting, he pulled her aside. "You handled that well," he said, voice warm. Your confidence is contagious. Keep it up. Emily smiled, feeling the rare comfort of genuine support. Thank you, Lucas. I'm still learning, but I want to make a real difference. Weeks turned into months. Emily's leadership bore fruit as the company secured pivotal partnerships overseas, launched pilot programs, and steadily increased revenues. She was no longer the newcomer, but a respected leader whose insights shaped the company's future. Still, the memory of Jake's betrayal lingered like a faint scar. Lucas often reflected on how far they had come, from the depths of deception and despair to the hope of renewal and growth. One evening, as twilight softened the city skyline, Lucas invited Emily to his office. The room was quiet, bathed in the fading light. "I've been thinking about everything we've been through," Lucas said softly, folding his hands. "Jake's betrayal shook us to the core, but it also revealed something important: the strength of this team and the potential in you." Emily looked up, her eyes reflecting a mixture of pride and humility. "I want to offer you a permanent seat at the executive table," Lucas continued. "You've proven yourself capable, not just in strategy, but in leadership, integrity, and vision. We need you to help guide us into this next chapter." Emily's breath caught. "A permanent leadership role? That's beyond anything I expected." Lucas smiled, his gaze steady. "You've earned it, Emily. This isn't just about rewarding past efforts. It's about investing in our future." She felt a swell of emotion, gratitude, excitement, and the weight of responsibility. "I won't let you down," she promised. Lucas nodded. "I know you won't. We'll work closely, and I'll support you every step of the way." That night, Emily left the office with a heart full of hope and determination. The road ahead was still challenging, but for the first time, she felt truly empowered to face it. The company's culture was transforming. Stories of courage and teamwork spread through the halls, inspiring employees at every level. The recent trials had forged a new spirit, one of resilience and trust. Yet challenges remained. The international expansion demanded constant adaptation. Regulatory hurdles, economic fluctuations, and fierce competition tested every plan. During one particularly grueling board meeting, tensions flared. "Emily, are you confident this approach will yield results?" "We can't afford missteps at this scale," the CFO pressed. Emily responded calmly. "I understand the stakes. That's why we've conducted extensive market research and engaged local partners to mitigate risks." Lucas observed, proud of how she navigated pressure with grace. Outside the meetings, Emily cultivated relationships with colleagues, earning respect through collaboration and results. Her journey, from waitress to leader, became a beacon of possibility within the company. One afternoon, Sandra stopped by Emily's desk. "You're doing amazing work. Keep pushing forward. The company's future depends on it." Emily smiled, her resolve strengthened. In quiet moments, she reflected on her path, the sacrifices, the doubts, the breakthroughs. She was no longer defined by past limitations, but by the promise of what she could achieve. As the company prepared for its next phase of growth, Emily stood ready, not just as a participant, but as a driving force shaping the future. Lucas, watching her progress, felt a profound sense of fulfillment. The betrayal that once threatened to destroy everything had instead forged a new legacy, one built on courage, trust, and renewal. Together, they faced the horizon, ready for the challenges and opportunities that awaited. The fading light of dusk cast a gentle glow across the city's towering skyline, but inside Lucas Bennett's office, a different kind of light was beginning to shine, one forged through months of struggle, resilience, and hope. The battle that had once threatened to shatter everything Lucas had built was behind them, and ahead lay a future ripe with possibility. Lucas stood by the panoramic window, his gaze sweeping over the urban sprawl glittering like a sea of stars. Yet despite the beauty outside, his thoughts were focused inward, on the journey they'd endured, the scars that remained, and the vision that now guided him forward. Emily Adams entered quietly, carrying a stack of reports, her expression calm but determined. The transformation in her was remarkable. The once timid waitress had grown into a formidable leader whose insights and passion energized the entire company. "Lucas," she said softly, setting the papers down on his desk. "The latest projections look promising. The new markets are responding well to our approach." He turned, a genuine smile breaking across his face. "That's good news. It's all thanks to your hard work and leadership." Emily's cheeks flushed, but she held his gaze steadily. "It's a team effort, and your support has made a world of difference." They settled into a deep discussion, exploring strategies for sustainable growth, the integration of new technologies, and fostering a culture that embraced innovation while honoring their hard-earned values. The room felt charged with purpose, a stark contrast to the tension that had gripped it months ago. Lucas's voice was thoughtful as he spoke. "We've come a long way, Emily, but we must stay vigilant. The challenges ahead are significant. Competition is fierce, and markets unpredictable." Emily nodded. "I know, but I believe in this company and in us. We faced worse and emerged stronger." Their conversation was interrupted briefly by a call from the legal team, updating them on the status of ongoing litigations and regulatory matters. Despite the progress, the road to full recovery was still long. Later that evening, Emily found a quiet moment alone in the office. She looked out over the city, reflecting on the improbable journey that had brought her here, from a waitress overhearing a dangerous secret to a trusted executive shaping the company's future. Her mind drifted back to those early days, the fear and uncertainty, the moments she doubted herself. But more than anything, she remembered Lucas's unwavering belief in her potential. That belief had been a lifeline, a beacon guiding her through the darkest times. Her phone buzzed softly, a message from Lucas. "Dinner tomorrow night? Let's celebrate how far we've come." A smile curved her lips. She quickly typed back, looking forward to it. The following evening, the two met at an intimate, softly lit restaurant overlooking the city. The atmosphere was warm and relaxed, a stark contrast to the intensity of their daily lives. Lucas raised his glass in a toast. "To new beginnings." Emily clinked her glass with his. "And to the future we'll build together." As they shared the meal, their conversation wandered beyond business, talking about dreams, challenges, and the people who had helped shape their paths. The weight of past betrayals seemed lighter now, replaced by a sense of partnership and mutual respect. Lucas's eyes grew serious for a moment. "Emily, you've changed everything. You're not just part of the company, you're part of its soul." Emily reached across the table, touching his hand lightly. "I couldn't have done any of this without you." Their connection was palpable, built on shared trials and triumphs. As the night deepened, Lucas spoke of future plans, expanding into new territories, embracing emerging technologies, and cultivating a workplace where everyone felt valued and empowered. Emily listened intently, her heart swelling with pride and anticipation. The road ahead was challenging, but together they were ready to face it. Returning home later, Emily paused on her balcony, the cool night air soothing her. She thought about the journey still ahead, personal and professional, and felt a steady confidence. She was no longer defined by her past circumstances, but by the possibilities she now embraced. Across the city, Lucas looked out from his penthouse, a quiet determination settling over him. The trials had tested him beyond measure, but they had also revealed the strength of his character and the power of trust and partnership. He knew there would be obstacles ahead, but with Emily by his side, he was ready to meet them head-on. Together, they would write the next chapter of their story, one of hope, resilience, and lasting success.